In 1989, Nintendo released the first Game Boy, which would become a very successful platform and eventually be replaced by the Game Boy Color, then the Game Boy Advance, and eventually the Nintendo DS and 3DS. A bunch of Mario titles were prepared for those various handhelds. Let's take a look at what Mario can do on a slightly smaller screen. Super Mario Land was released for the Game Boy in 1989 and was the first platformer Mario game for that handheld. The story of this game is set in the realm of Sarasa Land. One day, a weird alien named Tatanga appears and hypnotizes everyone living there and kidnaps Princess Daisy in order to marry her. It is now Mario's task to rescue her and save the kingdom. Super Mario Land's gameplay is very similar to Super Mario Bros. For the NES. You must go from worlds to worlds, jumping on enemies to defeat them. In this game, the Fire Flower gives Mario Super Balls instead of Fireballs. Those Super Balls bounce off any surface they touch and can be used to collect coins. Mario can also drive a submarine and an airplane in 2 stages in the game. There are 4 worlds with 3 levels each, making it a short game, but since it's for a handheld, it makes sense. Once you complete the game, you unlocked Hard Mode, and if you finish Hard Mode, you get to select the level you want to play. Super Mario Land sold about 18 million copies, making it the 7th best-selling game in the Mario series. Despite selling so much, most game reviews gave this title about 8 out of 10, which is not that bad, but for a Mario game you expect a little bit more. A sequel would be released 3 years later. Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins was released in 1992 for the Game Boy and serves as an official sequel to Super Mario Land. While Mario was saving Sarasa Land in Super Mario Land, the evil Wario put an evil curse over Mario's land, brainwashing everyone into thinking Wario is their master and Mario is their #1 enemy. Mario comes back from Sarasa Land and sets on a quest to get the 6 golden coins back in order to enter his castle and claim his land back. The objective of Super Mario Land 2 is to reach the end of every level while defeating enemies. It stays similar to the Mario series, giving you the mushroom, the fire flower, and the Starman, but introduce a new power-up which turns Mario into a bunny. Bunny Mario can jump higher and glide using his bunny ears. In Super Mario Land 2, you can play any worlds in any order you want, which isn't very common in the Mario series, even with more recent iterations. The game contains more worlds and more levels, and unlike the first game in the series, it doesn't require you to beat it all in one sitting. Every time you finish a level, the game saves your progress. Each world has a boss to defeat at the end, and the final boss is obviously Wario. You have to defeat his 3 forms, which are Big Wario, Fire Wario, and Bunny Wario. Once that is done, Mario takes back his castle and the game is over. This game was well received in general. The official Nintendo magazine ranked it 44th on their list of the 100 greatest Nintendo games to play. It has been re-released on the Nintendo 3DS Virtual Console if you want to experience it for yourself. It is one of my personal favorites. Super Mario Land 2 is notable for introducing the world to Wario. Speaking of Wario, the next game in the Super Mario Land series would drastically change the series and span a new one. Super Mario Land 3 Wario Land is the official sequel, even though it's not even featuring Mario anymore. It was released for the Game Boy in 1994 and stars Wario, who, after being defeated in Super Mario Land 2, sets on a quest to collect money to buy a bigger castle to make Mario jealous. Yup, that's the real plot. No princesses, nobody to rescue, it's all about the money! Even though it's part of the Super Mario Land franchise, Wario Land is completely different from previous games in the series. Wario is able to jump on enemies like Mario, but Wario can also charge and bump into them and pick them up and throw them away. Wario can collect power-ups, such as the Bull Helmet, which increase Wario's strength. There is also the Jet Helmet, which increases Wario's running speed and lets him fly for long distances. And finally, there's the Dragon Helmet, which lets Wario shoot flames. Wario Land was well received and sold well in the US. It would start a brand new series of games featuring Wario, starting with Wario Land 2. But since there's no more mention of Mario in the title, we're not going to cover them in our Mario retrospective. Donkey Kong was released in 1994 for the Game Boy. You may think that Donkey Kong is just a port of the classic arcade game. Heck, it even starts with the same 4 first levels. Don't be fooled though, Donkey Kong is a brand new game once you finish the classic part. The player takes control of Mario in his quest to rescue Pauline from that evil monkey. The game starts with the same 4 levels you're used to, and once you complete them, the victory theme starts, but gets quickly cut as Donkey Kong revives and captures Pauline again. This is where the real game starts. In each following stages, you have to collect a key and carry it to the locked door in order to finish the level. Every 4 stages, you are presented with a battle stage in which you must use the environment to defeat Donkey Kong. Mario's got some sick new moves too, such as the handstand, which gives him the ability to catch falling barrels. You can also side jump and smash enemies with the classic hammer. Donkey Kong was very well received by fans and critics. Nintendo Power listed it as the 8th best Game Boy game of all time. It is the only true follow-up to the original Donkey Kong arcade game. Super Mario Bros. Deluxe was released in 1999 for the Game Boy Color. It's pretty much a re-release of the original Super Mario Bros. Game, adding some features such as an overworld level map, a challenge mode, and all the extra worlds from the Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. 2. The game was very well received by critics, holding a score of 92% on game rankings. I wish I could say more about it, but it's just a port. So let's move on to the next game. In 2001, Super Mario Advance was released for the Game Boy Advance. It is a re-release of Super Mario Bros. 2. It kept most things intact, but added new features such as the Yoshi Challenge, which asks player to find Yoshi eggs scattered in some levels. A point system was also added to make it more similar to other Mario titles, because remember, this isn't really a Mario game at first, but a Japanese game named Doki Doki Panic. Graphical and audio enhancements were added and Princess Toadstool has been renamed to Princess Peach. What more can we ask? Well, what about a remake of the original arcade game Mario Brothers? Yes, it's also included in this game. One year later, in 2002, the Game Boy Advance saw another port of a Mario game. Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance 2, as its name suggests, is a port of the Super Nintendo game Super Mario World. The game pretty much stays the same, although some changes have been made, such as adding voices to Mario and Luigi and more enemies. The biggest difference may be the fact that you can play as Luigi, and Luigi jumps higher than Mario but runs slower. There are also some minor differences while you're using Luigi, such as Yoshi not swallowing the enemies automatically. This game was a hit for Nintendo, selling 3.2 million copies in the US and 5.4 million worldwide. What more can we ask? Well, what about a remake of the original arcade game Mario Brothers? Yes, it's included too! Again! Later the same year, Nintendo released Yoshi's Island Super Mario Advance 3, which is a remake of Yoshi's Island. Oh hey, another remake! Yippee! Some new features for this game are the sound effects that Yoshi makes and some new bonus levels. There are also some minor differences in many levels and dialogues. The game was very well received by Mario fans because even though it's a port or a remake, whatever, it's still a great game. What more can we ask? Well, what about a remake of the original arcade game Mario Brothers? Yep, it's included again. There was one remake left, and it's one of the best Mario game ever. Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3. Wow, that's a confusing title. Anyway, it was released in 2003, and as its name implies, it's just another remake. It included Mario and Luigi's voiced by Charles Martinet, and the ability to use a Nintendo e-reader to scan e-cards to add certain content. Oh, and it also contains everyone's favorite, a remake of the original Mario Bros. Arcade! Yeah! Super Mario Advance 4 was very well received by critics and gamers, and it's no surprise. I mean, after all, it's freaking Super Mario Bros. 3. This concludes the Super Mario Advance series. Phew! Now off to more original titles. There are 7 more handheld Mario games that I want to explore in this retrospective. Join me next time as we take a look at what came after the Game Boy Advance era until the Nintendo 3DS era.